thousands of applicants ask themselves, do I have what it takes to get into Stanford GSB? And I end up speaking to a lot of them. And that's exactly why we created this report. In it, we've analyzed over 700 profiles from the classes of 2023 and 2024, which is about 80% of those cohorts, to really pull back the curtain on who makes it into this most selective MBA program. And what makes the analysis unique is really its depth. It's just unprecedented. We didn't just look at GPA and GMAT scores, which is what you can find on Stanford website. We went in and mapped out exactly which universities feed into Stanford, which companies admits worked for, how many jobs they've had, and even how they've transitioned between roles before business school. So it's not just numbers, it's real pathways of real people who made it to Palo Alto. And we found a lot of surprising patterns. The academic backgrounds tell a really fascinating story. Yes, Stanford celebrates international diversity, and with nearly half the class being quote unquote international. But we found some actually really interesting insights. Probably the biggest was that about 75% of the two classes completed their undergraduate studies in American institutions. So even if you came from abroad, chances are an admit would have gone to the US for undergrad. Another takeaway was the range of backgrounds. Not surprisingly, we found that top universities like Harvard, Stanford, Yale, and other Ivies feed the most students, but there's a tremendous diversity beyond that. We found over 150 different universities from many different countries, so there's a really broad range of backgrounds in academia. In terms of what applicants studied, we found that economics remains probably the most popular major, but we often saw that it was paired with other disciplines like computer science or international relations. What I found particularly encouraging was seeing just how many different paths led to Stanford. For every student that had a perfect Ivy League pedigree, there was another who attended a lesser known institution but demonstrated really extraordinary impact there. About 30% of admits also had graduate degrees, so that kind of shows that there are multiple academic routes to distinguish yourself. I think that, as always, the key is excellence and impact regardless of where you studied. I think that we found that career paths of Stanford admits are both predictable and surprising. Consulting, finance, and tech dominate. That's not shocking. But when you dig deeper, you find some remarkable diversity in how people navigate these fields. So, for example, while only 20% of students were working in consulting when they were admitted, nearly double that number had consulting experience at some point in their pre-MBA careers. Many had pivoted to tech or finance before applying. This suggests that Stanford values not only prestigious employers, but also professional growth and evolution. We also saw fascinating trends in how industries are converging. So when you typically used to just see a lot of finance, now you see a lot of finance professionals working in fintech or consultants specializing in digital transformation, and even traditional sectors like manufacturing and healthcare. A lot of applicants were increasingly working with technology and integration. Stanford seems to value people who can bridge different worlds and really help companies adapt in such a rapidly changing environment. One of the most encouraging insights I found was that just about every industry and function was represented. This really reaffirmed what I often tell my clients, that there's no single right path, and what matters most is demonstrating impact and purpose wherever you are. I was really struck by how pervasive social impact has become across all sectors. About 40% of admits we found had significant social impact involvement. But here's the key, it wasn't just limited to those working in nonprofits. We found finance professionals leading impact investing initiatives, there were technologists building education platforms, and consultants advising a lot of social enterprises. So one student might be running a microfinance program in an emerging market, while another is driving sustainability transformation at a Fortune 500. So I think this represents a really fundamental shift in how business leaders view their role in society and how Stanford really values this. Stanford clearly values candidates who integrate some form of purpose into their professional lives, regardless of the industry. But encouragingly, you don't need to work at a nonprofit to demonstrate this. You can demonstrate meaningful change wherever you are. If there's one message I want applicants to take away from this report, it's this, that don't count yourself out. The data shows certain patterns, yes. Elite schools and prestigious employers are well represented, but Stanford is ultimately seeking individuals with unique perspectives and demonstrated impact. I've worked with so many successful applicants from unexpected backgrounds who initially thought, why would Stanford pick me? And But as we work through their personal journeys and the obstacles they've overcome, it's really their unique differences that set them apart. So what I encourage people to think of is that rather than asking why me, ask why not me, and focus on articulating your authentic story and the meaningful impact you've created, whatever your path has been. Remember that Stanford is explicitly saying that they're looking for who you are, not simply what you've done. And I think that this report really shows that. The truth is, for every Harvard graduate or McKinsey consultant who has admitted, there are often others with identical credentials who are rejected. So what differences successful candidates have isn't just their resume, it's their personal narrative and the unique perspective that they'll bring to the GSB community. We've made the complete report available for download at fortunaadmissions.com, and it contains all the detailed breakdowns of undergraduate institutions, employers, career transitions that can help you contextualize your own background. But I also want to caution that this data only tells part of the story, and that remember that each applicant's journey is unique, and that's why we offer free consultations to discuss every prospective applicant's specific profile and potential fit with Stanford.